Hello students, my name is Arshan and today we will do the second chapter of your honeycomb textbook of class 7th of NCERT. The name of the chapter is Gift of Chappals. This is a very interesting chapter students. In this chapter we will see a lot of things from the exaggeration of children's stories to the values of imagination, the ability of seeing the contradiction and some moving acts of charities as well. We will also do a special segment known as working with language afterwards. So students, the gift of Chappal is actually an extract from author Vasant Surya's Mridu in Madras. Whereas students, Mridu is a young girl growing up in Madras, which is called Chennai nowadays. She is living with her Tapi and her Thata. As you might not know that Tapi means grandmother and Thata means grandfather in Tamil languages. Now one afternoon she is being taken by her Tapi to her aunt's Rukumani's house to meet her cousins Lalli, Ravi and Meena. So let's go and see. So students, this is how the story goes. A smiling Rukumani threw open the door. Ravi and Meena rushed out and Ravi pulled Mridu into the house. Wait, let me take off my slippers, protested Mridu. She set them out neatly near a pair of large black ones. Those were grey, actually with dust. You could see the clear mark of every toe on the front part of each slipper. The mark for the two big toes were long and scrawny. You know students, she put her slippers near the black slippers which were very old, rugged and maybe used. Now the story goes on. Mridu didn't have much time to wonder about whose slippers they were because Ravi dragged her to the backyard behind a thick bitterberry bush. There, inside a torn football lined with sacking and filled with sand, lay a very small kitten lapping up milk from a coconut half shell. We found him outside the gate this morning. He was mewing and mewing. Poor thing, said Meena. It is a secret. Amma says Pati will leave for our Paddu Mama's house if she knows we have a cat. People are always telling us to be kind to animals, but when we are, they scream. Oh, don't bring that dirty creature here, said Ravi to Mridu. Do you know how hard it is just to get a little milk from the kitchen? Pati saw me with a glass in my hand just now. I told her I am very hungry. I want to drink it. But the way she looked at me, I had to drink most of it to throw her off the scent. Then she wanted the tumbler back. Pati, I will wash it myself. Why should I put you in the trouble? I told her. Then Ravi further said, I had to run and pour the milk into this coconut shell and then run back and wash the tumbler and put it back before she got really suspicious. Now we have to think of some other way to feed Mahindran. Mahindran? This little kitty names is Mahindran. Mridu was impressed. It was a real name, not just a cute kitty cat name. Ravi says his name is Mahindra Varma Pallava Punai, MP Punai for short. Ravi also implied that you can see the fur at this cat. It is looking like the mane of a lion. So he was comparing a lion with his cat. So he also noted the point that the emblem of the ancient Pallava king was lion. Listening to all these stories and all, Mridu started laughing, giggling indeed. But listening to this, what happened? Ravi said to Mridu, think I'm joking? Well, just wait. I'll show you sometime. It's clear you don't know a thing about history. Haven't been to Mahabalipuram, have you? He said mysteriously. Well, when our class went to Mahabalipuram, I saw a statue of Thatas, etc., etc. Fact is, Mahindran here is descendant from the very same ancient cat. So students, Ravi was trying to convince Mridu. He even said that, do you know that scientifically the cat is a descendant of lion and also the Pallav lion, which was the emblem of the Pallav dynasty. You know, he was making things up and he was implying that the cat is a descendant of none other than the Mahabalipuram Rishi cat. And then suddenly he remembers people used to worship cats in ancient Egypt. But Ravi continued, yes, this cat of mine is a descendant of the Egyptian cat goddesses, which actually got stowaway in one of the Pallava ship. Now students, stowaway means to be hidden in a ship for traveling without being noticed by anyone. Mahindran the cat, he looked up alarmed. He had just been sharpening his claws on the edges of the coconut shell. But worse than Ravi's awful whoop, eek, was a screech from the window. What a weird sound. If Mridu was startled, MP Punai was frightened out of his wits. Hair standing on end, he bounced up and scurried towards a bamboo tray of red chilies that had been set out to dry. Trying to hide beneath it, he tipped a few chilies over them himself. Meow, he howled miserably. The screeching went on and on. What's that noise? Said Mridu. That's Lalli learning to play the violin, grunted Ravi. She'll never learn a thing. The music master just goes on playing like a train whizzing on and on, while Lalli is all the time derailing, going completely off track. So students, it's time for comprehension check 1. There are some questions that I will ask and you have to write the answers in your notebook. The first question is, what is the secret that Meena shares with Mridu in the backyard? The second question is, how does Ravi get milk for the kitten? Okay. Now, the third question, who does he say the kitten's ancestor are and do you believe him? Okay. Now, the fourth one, Ravi has a lot to say about MP Punai. This shows that number 1, he is merrily trying to impress Mridu. Number 2, his knowledge of history is sound. Number 3, he has a rich imagination. And number 4, he is an intelligent child. Now, which of these statements do you agree or disagree? Okay students. Now, the last one, fifth question. What was the noise that startled Mridu and frightened Mahindran? Or I can also say MP Punai. So students, interesting comprehension check, right? Now, let us go further into the story with that screeching sound. Mridu crept up to the window. Lalli was sitting a little distant away, awkwardly holding her violin and bowstring, her elbows jutting out and her eyes glazed with concentration. In front of Lalli was the music teacher. With most of his back to the window was the bony figure of the music master or teacher. He had a mostly bald head with a fringe of oiled black hair falling around his ears and an old-fashioned tuft. A gold chain was gleaming around his leathery neck and a diamond ring glistered on his hands as it glided up and down the stem of the violin. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold-bordered veshti edge. Veshti is a dhoti, it is called dhoti in Tamil. So, the music teacher, he was beating time to time on the floor with his scrawny big toe. The music master played a few notes. Lalli stumbled behind him and unhappy in her hands. What a difference! The music master's notes seems to float up and settle perfectly into the invisible tracks of the melody. It was like the wheels of a train fitting smoothly into the rails and whizzing along. As Ravi said, Mridu stared at the huge beringed hand moving effortlessly up the violin stem, making lovely music on her violin, which looked quite helpless. So students, what happened? There came another sound, squawk. There was Lalli derailing again. Amma, Amma, came a wail from the gate. Wail, a cry or a shouting. Amma, Amma. Ravi, send that beggar away, cried his mother from the back veranda, where she was chatting with Tapi. He has been coming here every day for the past week and it's time he found another house to beg from, Pati explained to Tapi. Mridu and Meena followed Ravi out. The beggar was already in the garden, making himself quite at home. He had spread his upper cloth under the neem tree and was leaning against its trunk, apparently prepared to take a little snooze, while he waited for the arms to appear. Go away, said Ravi sternly. My Pati says it's time you found another house to beg from. The beggar opened his eyes very wide and gazed at each of the children one by one. The ladies of this house, he said, at last in a voice choked with feeling, are very kind souls. I have kept my body and soul together on their generosity for a week. The beggar opened his eyes very wide and gazed at each of the children. Ravi, tell him there's nothing left in the kitchen, said Rukumani. And he is not to come again. Tell him that. She sounded fed up. Ravi didn't have to repeat it all to the beggar. What his mother said had been easy for them all to hear, there under the neem tree. The beggar sat up and sighed. I'll go, he said wearily. Only let me have a rest under this tree. The sun is so hot, the tar has melted on the road. My feet are already blistered. He stretched out his feet to show large, pink, peeling blisters on the soles of his bare feet. I suppose he doesn't have the money to buy chappals. Mridu whispered to Meena and Ravi. Have you got an old pair in the house somewhere? I don't know, said Ravi. Mine are too small to fit his feet, or I'd have given them to him. And his feet were larger than Mridu's and Meena. The beggar was shaking out his upper cloth and tightening his dhoti as if he is about to leave. He raised his eyes and looked fearfully at the road, gleaming in the afternoon heat. He needs something on its feet, Meena said, her eyes, big eyes filling. It's not fair. Meena started crying, seeing the condition of the beggar. She said, this is not fair. You know the statement big eyes filling, it means crying. Meena was very much sympathetic towards the beggar, a fellow human being who has to, walk or get punished by walking into the scorching heat barefooted. So she was very much disappointed. Then what happened, students? Let us learn more. Shh, said Ravi. I am thinking about it, blubbering. It's not fair, isn't it going to help in 2 minutes? He'll be frying his feet on that road. What he needs is a pair of chappals. So where do we get them? Come, let's search the house. He pushed Mridu and Meena into the house. Just as she stepped into the veranda, Mridu's eyes fell on the odd-looking chappals she had noticed when she arrived. Ravi, she whispered to him, whose are those? Ravi turned and glanced at the shabby-looking but sturdy old chappals. He beamed and nodded. These are the just right size, he said, picking them up. Mridu and Meena followed him nervously back into the garden. Here, said Ravi to the beggar, dropping the slippers in front of the old man. Wear these and don't come back. The beggar stared at the slippers, hurriedly flung his towel over his shoulder, pushed his feet into them and left. Muttering a blessing to the children, in a minute he had vanished around the corner of the street. The music master came out of the house and took an unappreciative look at the three of them, sitting quietly under the tree, playing marbles. Then he searched for his chappals in the veranda, where he had put them. Lalli, he called. After a few moments, she hurried up to him. Have you seen my chappals, my dear? I remember having kept them here. Ravi, Mridu and Meena silently watched Lalli and the music master search every corner of the veranda. He scurried around, looking over the railing and crouching near the flower pots to look between them. Brand new they were. I went all the way to Mount Road to buy them. He went on saying, they cost a whole month's fees, do you know? Then Lalli went in to tell her mother, Rukumani. She appeared, looking harassed, with Pati following her. Where could they be? They kept on searching. Rukumani came. Where could the slippers be? She said. It's really quite upsetting to think someone might have stolen them. So many vendors come to the door, worried Pati. Rukumani caught sight of Ravi, Mridu and Meena sitting under the tree. So she asked, "Have you children?" She began, and then seeing they were curiously quiet, went on more slowly. She said, "Have you children seen anyone lurking around the veranda?" A sharp V line had formed between her eyebrows. Another straight, tighter one appeared in place of her usually soft, pleasant mouth. Rukumani was angry, thought Mridu with a shiver. She wouldn't be so upset if she knew about the poor beggar with sores on his feet, she tried to tell herself. Taking a deep breath, she cried, "Rukumani, there was a beggar here. Poor thing, he had such boils on his feet." "So," said Rukumani, grimly turning to Ravi with anger, "you gave the music master's chappal to that old beggar who turns up here?" "Children these days," groaned Pati. "Amma, didn't you tell me about Karn who gave away everything he had, even his gold earrings? He was so kind and generous." "Silly," snapped Rukumani. "Karn didn't give away other people's things, he only gave away his own. But my chappals wouldn't have fitted the beggar's feet." Ravi rushed brashly on. "And Amma, if they did, would you really not have minded?" Ravi said. Now Rukumani became very angry. "Go inside this minute," she said with anger. She hurried indoors and brought out Gopu Mama's hardly worn new chappals. These should fit you, sir," said Rukumani. "Please put these on, and I am so sorry. My son has been very naughty." The music master's eyes lit up. He put them on, trying not to look too happy. "Well, I suppose these will have to do. These days children have no respect for elders. What to do? A Hanuman incarnate. Only Rama can save such a naughty fellow." Rukumani's eyes flashed. She didn't seem to like Ravi's being called a monkey, even a holy monkey. She stood stiff and straight by the front door. It was clear she wanted him to leave quickly. When he had clattered off in his new chappals, she said, "Mridu, come in and have some tiffin. Honestly, how do you children think of such things? Thank God your Gopu Mama doesn't wear his chappals to work." As she walked towards the kitchen with Mridu and Meena, she suddenly began to laugh. "But he is always in such a hurry to throw off his shoes and socks and get into his chappals as soon as he comes home. What's your mama going to say this evening when I tell him that I gave his chappals to the music master?" Now students, it's time for comprehension check 2. The first question is, the music master is making lovely music. Read aloud the sentence in the text that expresses the idea, or rather this idea. Now, second question. Had the beggar come to Rukumani's house for the first time? Give reasons for your answer. Now, third question. A sharp V-shaped line had formed between her eyebrows. What does it suggest to you about Rukumani's mood? Now students, it's time for the segment known as the working with language. You have to read the following sentences. If she knows we have a cat, Pati will leave the house. B. She won't be so upset if she knows about the poor beggar with sores on his feet. C. If the chappals do fit, will you really not mind? These are the options, students. Now what you have to do, you have to rewrite each of these sentences by using the if clauses or the conditional clause. Listen to this statement. Walk fast, full stop. You will catch the bus, full stop. If you walk fast, you will catch the bus. See, we have made these two statements into one, and also we have used the if clause in the starting. Similarly, you have to do the rest of the sentences. So students, in this story, we have learned a lot of things. We have seen the spontaneity, we have seen the imagination of Ravi, we have also seen the ability to see contradictions in normal behaviors and the moving acts of charity as well. Now the values of sincerity, care and compassion are very important in our life as well, and we should always take care of these values. and try to show them whenever possible. Also students, in this chapter we have learned a lot of new things. For example, in the comprehension check we have learned the use of if clauses, also known as the conditional clause. Also students, we have learned in this chapter about the values of language learning, practicing, decision making, and maybe negotiating and persuasion as well. As you can see, Ravi tried to negotiate with her mother, trying to justify his act of charity. Well students, it was a very interesting chapter. I will take your leave for next time. Bye bye.